UnSpun, episode number 211, season 14, I think episode 7. We're back with Chris Mayville, who was here 3 weeks ago. Chris just, we lost
I'm
Chris's
here.
video.
Sorry. Back. Sorry.
Chris managed to get himself like uber famous since he was here like 3 weeks ago. All over the news media, the CBC. What else did you get yourself on? You got yourself on Russia Today.
Yeah, I was on the New York Post. I was all over the place. The CBC, BBC. It was quite an interesting Fox News, but it was a local Fox guy. But it was awesome. Yeah, it was very interesting. The media was here, sir. They were the media, the eyes of the media or the world came to Windsor, Ontario, and I was planning a trip to go up to Ottawa, and then all of a sudden, this blockade happens here in my own city.
Oh, I thought you went up to Ottawa. I thought that's
No, I didn't yet. We were
wow.
going to go. We were planning to go that weekend, and when I don't know if what we were talking about going on the Monday, going up on the weekend, and by the time I think it was the Tuesday or Wednesday, the blockade was happening at the Ambassador Bridge, and that became the big thing because that's the biggest border crossing, and there's so much commerce going there, and it was such a massive issue that I went down there. And I'll tell you, I work early in the morning, so I get up for work at 5 a.m. and go to work. I start at 6, but because I've been working on the stupid comic book thing, I get up earlier and I put a couple hours in before I go to work. And I was up early and I was just checking my Facebook, and I saw somebody talking about the blockade at the bridge. So I said, I'm going to go down before work. I went and picked up a bunch of trays of coffee, walked down there, saw the police, offered them coffee. They were cool. They just said, no, thanks. I went down and met these guys, gave them coffee. They're all super happy, great people. And it was something else. And then CNN showed up, and so did Fox. And I bumped into a guy I knew, an excellent musician who happened to be there. And this is funny. At 4:00 in the morning, I go there because I saw the police were going to come and arrest these guys, and I wanted to go down. I figured, okay, well, you got to support these guys. I'm going to go down and make sure I capture this, or if there's any shit that goes on. Pardon me. And I bump into a friend of mine, this guy, Dusty D'Annunzio, great musician, and he's also a producer for a documentary called the Border City Music Project. And so he's, he showed up for the same reason, to check it out. So we're hanging around. CNN's there. It's becoming a big deal. All the people there are great. I start going back every day. And then there was an injunction on the Friday, and they were going to arrest everybody. And we all showed up, got into it with CBC, which is our state propaganda arm, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And of all the people, Jan, this is hilarious. This blows my mind. But I keep wanting to, there's so many points I just have to keep hammering home to people. The CBC is state, this is like been around my entire life. The CBC has been this prominent Canadian institution, and but it's now the propaganda arm for the Trudeau government. It has been. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They don't have, they don't allow anybody to comment on their YouTube channel, so they've removed all the comments. So when you do that, they're a news organization that it's not very good, and they're the only news crew that was there that had a security detail with them. And they had 2 guys in security. They're like Canadian Broadcasting. Everybody else is there. Everybody else is there. CBC, CNN, NBC, everybody else. And, they have to have their own security detail because they're so hated in Canada. And I was berating them for having a security detail because there was old people and children. I swear I went down and saw with my own eyes the people that were at this protest. They were maligned. They were called racists and misogynists, of course, and the people who have, unfavorable opinions and a fringe minority, or whatever Trudeau called them. And they're everyday folks. They're working class people. They're where the rubber meets the road. They're the people who've been affected the most by these mandates. And even though a lot of these truckers, the majority of them are vaxxed, it's the mandates that are killing everything and killing our economy. And the government and the elitists and all the liberals, they have such contempt for the working class, and it's so obvious because they finally Jan, the working class has united. They finally united in, but not for socialism. They want freedom, and these people are losing their nuts. Their brains are exploding, and so it's ridiculous, And so these people have been maligned and just called every name in the book, and so I started live streaming just so people could see the people that were there. I talked to people. There was everyday people, great stories, sad stories, but people, it was beautiful, man. It was a beautiful event. I swear, like, so much brotherhood. Like, you would have walked as an American, you would have felt like a Canadian, you would have felt welcome, because it was for people who love freedom. Everybody there was a freedom lover. They were just proud. The flags, the Canadian flags flying, everybody was waving a flag and singing I've never heard the national anthem so many times. I swear, it's like it's just breaking into the national anthem. It was so much national pride and patriotism, and and peaceful people with their families and their dogs barbecuing. It's a really bizarre event, but it's been portrayed as something that it's not even. Like, you see the Black Lives Matter,
right?
We have them here.
They were burning down entire cities, and they were allowed to go on and get out of prison, but but the truckers were called the racists, the misogynists, the Canada haters, the anti-science, the Nazis, etc.
It's crazy. It's so bizarre. And the idea that these people, they are so every day. I mean, I'm meeting people from every different walk of life, of every different nationality. They're true Canadians because they just believe in this, in the fundamentals of freedom. And it's the same fundamentals that you and our American brothers and sisters stand for, like, just to be able to have your self-determination and the idea of bodily autonomy and be able to choose for yourself what you want, having your own agency. And they're trying to rob that of us. And the fact that they're trying so hard and gone from zero to Emergency War Act, it's just like, wow, from a fringe minority to a state of emergency. And all it's been is just trucks and cars honking their horns, people partying, dancing to music.
Well, Candace Owens the other day called for, an invasion into Canada to overthrow Trudeau because of the tyranny.
And you know what? God bless her, because where are the politicians? There's nobody. I just had a little discussion with a guy on a Facebook thread where they were saying, hey, wake up, America, this could be us. And it's like, yeah. And who's gonna condemn it? Because who's condemned it so far here? El Salvador and Romania.
Wow.
And maybe a handful of others, but I have not seen any other allies come out and say, you know what, we condemn that kind of behavior. These people were peaceful. They didn't deserve. You saw the video from Druthers I sent to you, the guy who got pummeled, and then he was just released. They even gave him the option of being released or being charged. And he said, I'll take the charges. And they're like, we're not going to charge you. And they just released him.
After they beat the crap out of him and nearly suffocated him to death.
Yeah, that's who we're dealing with. And the idea, like, I did an interview yesterday with a young man that I met at the bridge, this guy, Tristan. And this kid was out there on the Sunday when everybody else was gone. He's out there. I just saw him just before we went live. I was watching his live stream. He was out walking the streets where the barricade was, waving his flag. Like, he goes out there daily and gives you a report of what the cops are up to, because they've blocked off the entire region. And it was a very, like, the blockade wasn't the most strategic blockade, it was just kind of more of an organic thing. And it just kind of plopped itself down right in front of the bridge. And so the police were able to kind of, they were able to wait everybody out and be pretty strategic about it. So I think it was wise how they played it out, because it could have been very violent and it wasn't. However, it was definitely a staging or a a dry run for what was going to happen in Ottawa, because we had snipers on the roofs in 3 different roofs. They had teams of guys with spotters and guys. I didn't necessarily see any of a rifle per se, but there were people that said they saw guys up on the roofs with rifles as well. And we saw all kinds of different armed police, and they were. I tested them a lot on the Saturday when they really kind of started moving us out of the area, and they were pretty cool. Like, I asked a few times, like, if I needed to go past your line here and I'm leaving, will you let me? And they were like, yes, but if you turn around to come back, we're going to arrest you. But if you want to go, you can go. And I was like, well, I just wanted to know. Thanks. Took off. But I just wanted to see, right? Just to see how reasonable they would be. And it seems like they were reasonable up until the Sunday, and then they became unreasonable. And that's when the violence and the arrests happened. And they broke people's, windows of their cars, and they towed a whole bunch of cars away. And then the week after that, they went to Ottawa, and it became far more violent and far more, like, it's almost draconian there right now, the red zone. And people who are actually legitimately staying in the city can't leave or walk certain streets. They're actually prohibited from actually. It's just unreal that this is happening here in Canada.
Yeah, well, our polite Canadian neighbors, it's you don't expect that stuff. And I saw one video of the mounted police trampling 2 people.
Yeah, and apparently the woman is okay, but they said that somebody threw a bicycle at the horses, and that's why they ran into the crowd. But she had a walker apparently, and that's what they found. They saw it was a walker that was on the ground, and they tried to use that, saying that it was somebody threw a bicycle at the horse. But there's
well, the media and government's always going to spin it,
Of course, and that's the thing, right? Like, they came right away and tried to spin it. In fact, they got a hold of a bunch of texts from the police that were staying at this really. They're being put up in a nice hotel right now and being given, all the goods. So they're being well taken care of. And so apparently somebody got a hold of their texts and their messages. And so that's not looking very good on them as well. So things, it's looking it's very bizarre. But, you've sent me a lot of stuff about recently. We were talking about the whole control mechanism. And, like, this isn't shocking that this has happened. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's not like we didn't see this shit coming, right? Like, it's not like this just came out of nowhere.
Right.
Like,
we've only been reporting on the progression for 12 years now, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I was saying, I thought Australia, because they gave up their guns, would be the first ones to go. And usually they're before Canada in a lot of things. Like, even when Stephen Harper was the prime minister, or when he was going to be the prime minister, he gave the exact same speech verbatim days after the then premier or prime minister of Australia did, like verbatim. Somebody put them back to back, and it was like word for word.
It's like that old news clip that I think they scrubbed from everywhere, where you had all the news channels reporting the exact same story, word for word, on like 50 or 100 different stations.
So, it doesn't surprise me. Like, it seems like this has always been like this control. But boy, it's just crazy to see it and how they were able, and they don't seem that competent. So it seems bizarre that they were able to actually get their agenda this far. Like, I'm surprised. I knew they had lackeys in place, but boy, man, there's a lot of people that are arguing and that don't like these truckers. They like regular people that I know that are, of the same,
class.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, as myself, but maybe they're more educated. I think that has something to do with it. And I think the more educated people are, I think they become elitist, and they become snobby, and they look their nose down at these people. And that seems to be,
the truckers drive too slow, therefore, you know?
Yeah, like the truckers are just truckers. Like, shut up and drive and bring us our stuff. Like, they don't seem to respect these people. Yet these people are standing up for the fundamental rights of everybody. And it's undeniable. Like, it's undeniable to me that our rights are being eroded. I don't know how people, the fact that people are, well, freedom doesn't mean this, and freedom, and, or my favorite is freedom, D-U-M-B. Like that's a real clever one. We're like, oh, freedom, those freedom lovers. Oh, okay, because freedom is dumb. Yeah, that's the kind of mentality we're dealing with here. And it's sad. It's like they're bootlickers. Like, we have so many, a lot of the punkers, the punk rockers are the biggest bootlickers I know. They're the biggest corporate shills I know, are the ones who are
Well,
supposed
you know, the whole punk rock, you know, Vice magazine was originally launched by the Canadian government to promote punk rock to the kids.
There you go. Yeah.
You know?
Good old Gavin. Yeah. I mean, like, so many things just glow in the dark, man. They just spook out, and you go, man, like, somebody had to have a hand in this.
Well, you know, what's amazing to me is, like, you know, growing up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, things were great. And then you hit the mid 90s and you start seeing everything taking a downturn. And then, you know, obviously we had a 4-year stalemate here, which they couldn't allow. And so, you know, they threw everything they could at Trump to get him out. And then now the whole Hillary scandal is out, you know, and the whole time for 4 years, they falsely accused him of that. And the media constantly lying about it.
And the fact that they're trying to gaslight this whole Hillary thing and try to make it a nothing burger is like unreal. They're just like, oh, he's nothing.
Well, and it's like the quid pro quo. Biden is on video admitting that he did it, but they put it on Trump, right? And then, you know, and then you have the Hunter Biden laptop that's disappeared. And now what did they do 2 weeks ago? Biden is legalizing crack and crack pipes and all of this stuff.
Crack pipes.
Well, you know, it's like, how are we going to handle this Hunter fiasco? I know. Let's legalize crack pipes and let's, you know, this harm reduction stuff, and we're just going to see more dead people in the streets from it, and that's what we've seen. I used to know one of the key proponents of, in fact, I interviewed him on the show about 12, 13 years ago, Chris Conrad. Him and his wife, Mickey Norris, were the key proponents of that. And when we started seeing all the feces in the streets and the bodies and the bums everywhere, I wrote him and I said, now that you see all of this stuff rolling out from your actions, do you still believe in it? And I put a post on Facebook and I tagged him in the post, no response, you know? You know, and it's like, I was friends with that guy for years, and now I look at him and look at this whole agenda, and it's like, wow, you know? And, you know, they're normalizing it so much that it's wrecked hundreds of thousands of lives, if not more.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. And it's even this whole pandemic has done so much. It's been so brutal to people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol that because it's just given them a reason to have despair and to be hopeless. Like, the news is horrible. You can't go out and do anything. You have no outlet for.
So David, whom we've known for 8-10 years, David Taylor, you know, most people know that Trudeau is probably 99% chance the son of Castro.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you know,
it's pretty. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Yeah, it's very.
Well, and not only that, but his family was vacationing and hanging out with Castro at the exact time that he would have been conceived to be president, all the time. You know, and of course the fake news tries to say that that's been debunked, but you know, he's a true-born red blood communist.
Well, and the same with Krista Freeland too, who is the deputy prime minister and the minister of finance, or whatever the heck else she is. Like, who knows? And she's on the board of trustees with the World Economic Forum, like so many other people. Like,
these shills for Schwab.
Yes, yeah, the shills for Schwab. That's a good way of putting it. You know, and it's just these people are so transparent and yet they seem with they seem so incompetent to me because they're so transparent. They just so obvious that they have no nuance. Like they don't seem like, I was complaining earlier to a guy, to somebody on this thread. Like I said, like, where's the US, or where's where's the UK, or, Australia, or any of these other allied countries, Germany, or to say, hey, we condemn that kind of violence against your citizenry. They're peaceful protesting. Like even just to come up with a statement, but they're not even doing that anymore. Like they're not even hiding that illusion of trying to respect human rights, or because they all sign on to this declaration of it, but they don't really respect it, never have. And now they're not even putting up an air of illusion about it. They're not even trying. We got Romania and El Salvador. God bless them, and I appreciate all. But it's not like we're getting, Italy and Spain and Greece and Ireland and England, and nobody else is saying, hey, not that I'm aware of. Maybe they are.
And El Salvador is one of the worst countries in the world that you never want to go to. And I've been there for a few hours. On the way to Peru, I was in El Salvador, and I had to leave the airport to go get some food because we were stuck there for half a day. And I walked out of the airport and went across the street and got a meal in actual El Salvador, not just on airport property. And all these people are looking at me like, man, you got balls to be out here,
Man, I tell you, I'll take it where I can get it. But boy, it's like, it seems to me like that's a big thing. And the fact that so many of these people are on board with this idiocy, and it just seems like, wow, even though they're so incompetent, yet they're quite competent because they're actually successful, and they have been successful, at least passing this stupid war. I can't believe they passed this War Measure Act, whatever this like martial law stupidity is. And I'm stymied. And there's Canadian citizens who think it's good.
Yeah.
They think it's a good thing. And they are okay with those truckers being beaten and the old ladies being trampled. We have DJs on our local AM, which is a very famous station, AM 800, which is they called the Big Eight. Used to be a big radio station. It turned a lot of hits. In fact, the old programming director, a woman by the name of Rosalie Tremblay, she was given like an award at the Jimmy Carter White House for her contribution to music and stuff like that, because they were such an influential radio station. Elton John used to call her to ask her what songs that he should release as singles on his records back in the day. So it's a very prominent radio station here, and yet they've completely gone woke, and they have their talk is a talk station now, and they have their DJs or their talk show hosts they're saying that, oh yeah, this stupid lady got run over by a horse. I'm more worried about the horse. Yeah. And there's a lot of outrage, that people are pissed off that these people are making these comments against the truckers. Again, liberal elites. They're just licking their nose down at these people, and that's what we deal with. And another point, I made this point a ton of times with all the news people that I was interviewed, because
And let me back you up for a second. How did you end up getting on all of the news like that?
So
I mean, you were just on the show 3 weeks ago, and it was just normal Chris, who's been on the show, several times before, and all of a sudden you're like the spokesperson or something,
Well, I didn't mean to be, but what happened? I walked up and I saw that the CBC was out in the crowd with their security guys, and I started making fun of them, and I was live streaming. And the guy turned around and just stuck his mic in my face and started asking me questions. So I went into my whole spiel of why I thought it was wrong, and the mandates, and why I think that the government's done more harm than good for our economy with like crushing mandates and everything's just seizing our economy up. And then about the freedom part. And then I hit him and a whole bunch of other people too, because after I spoke with that guy, then everybody else just came over and started talking to me.
Wow.
Like I had a whole bunch of people coming over and going, because, hey, can I get your name? Can I ask you a question? So then I spoke with about 5 or 6 people after that. Then I plopped my chair down.
Different media outlets or just people?
Yeah, they're all hanging around. Like there's
wow. So you were like just suddenly, you got your 10 minutes of fame all piled back to back.
Well, the day before that, when I was in the morning, when there was CNN headline news, And my friend Dusty was talking to this guy, and they were about to go live. And it was actually quite funny because the guy was just getting ready to go live with headline news, and they gave him the countdown, and it was dead. Everybody was sleeping in their cars and stuff. There was about 6 of us standing around in front of these guys watching them. The guy gives them the countdown, and as soon as they go live, all the horns hit, and they just hit and stayed on for the entire time that they were live until they went off again. And then the reporter, Miguel Marquez, I think his name was, he turns around and he goes, why? That was a wonderful moment. So then we spoke to this Fox guy from local Fox, and he was a really cool dude. And then the next day when I was there and CNN was out, or CBC, I'm sorry, and they were walking around, I was kind of picking on the guys' security, the fact that there were so many older people and children there that they would need to bring security. Like half the crowd was female. I mean, it was not a military aged male crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was non-threatening. Most of the guys are probably in their 40s and 50s, some younger guys, but not a lot. So not a threatening crowd at all. And so that's how that started. And then next thing you know, yeah, I talked to a bunch of people in a row. I had the guy from New York Post take a shot of me and came over. He was really cool. And then I had RT contact me through my live streams, because I had live streams going, and that they were getting some, because I was right down there when these things were starting to happen. So people were like, oh, I just want to check out what's going on. And it was good to be live to show, because the media was not presenting it in the most favorable lights. So they were trying to show the most, radical of the people there. I think they even used a misquote from me. I don't think I said, because I live streamed my interview with the CBC, and I think the quote they used wasn't in my live stream. So I don't recall. I think it was maybe a slight misquote. But one point I tried to make for these people, because a lot of them aren't from here, and that is that freedom to us is not the same. And you have to understand, we live at the end of the Underground Railroad. This is where Black people came. 30,000 Black people came here to be safe and to be not slaves anymore. Like an hour down the road is Dresden, where Uncle Tom's cabin is. So it's not like it's our heritage. We're not going to forsake the idea of being a free country because some commies want to take over in Ottawa, and they think it's better than,
and use all of this Marcusian sleight of hand nonsense.
Yes, and try to use that race thing against us, because they try to use that, we're all racist. No. This is not a racist area, man. People were accepted because, they were allowed to come here and live free as free individuals, not as somebody's property. And for whatever reasons is whatever, all I know is that this area has that heritage, it has that legacy, and there's no fucking way, pardon my language, I am letting that go. And I told the guy too, I'm like, no, do you think anybody would print that? RT was the only people that used that part of the quote. Out of all the people, I told everybody the same thing. I'm like, we live in this part. This is where it is. And my friend Dusty, when talking to CNN, he's like, this is a different protest. BLM, they're not authentic. I love Detroit. Detroit had race riots. Where is BLM? They've got millions of dollars.
Well, and BLM is totally, admittedly Marxist too. Out in the open and being funded by Marxism, and they're straight out of out of South America or South Africa, the AJC or whatever it was that massacred. And so many people believed the lie that Nelson Mandela was some big hero. Yeah. He was a mass murderer, He was
a terrorist. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he went around killing blacks who didn't agree with him,
Yeah, he wasn't imprisoned wrongly.
No, he should have never been allowed out, much less to become the Prime Minister of South Africa.
But isn't that crazy?
And just really quickly on that point, people go out and watch the documentary Tainted Heroes, and they lay out what kind of person this so-called hero Nelson Mandela was. But the AJC, I think is what it's called, is exactly what the BLM is based off of. And the AJC was entirely funded and backed by the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all the same stuff. It's all the same. It just repackaged. but it's communism. It always is at the very end of the day. It's like you get the same thing, comes from the same package. You open it up, oh, communism again. It's the same thing. And I don't know how people can't not see this, but it blows my mind the power of marketing, that they can take a guy like Nelson Mandela and turn him into a hero, like through Hollywood and music and movies. And
I posted the other day, and I agree with you on that, but I want to read this that I posted the other day, because this is what I posted. And I think you saw it. Erasing history and spinning Hitler into a far-right winger rather than the socialist leftist he was absolutely necessary for the left to achieve their goals today, to get people to accept leftism yet again and repeat history.
Yep. It's exactly right.
Can I ask you a favor? Can you wipe off your camera? It goes fuzzy every once in a while, like it might be dirty or something.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Yeah, no problem. Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Okay. See,
just I don't know if you got a cloth or something you can just wipe it off with.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Anyway, you can keep talking while you're doing it.
Yeah, no, okay. No, I think it's that's very true, and I get into that argument with the people all the time. Even today with Krista Freeland, her father was an editor for a Nazi newspaper, and I'm like, yeah, Nazis are gonna Nazi. And like, that's how it is, they're always lefties. Collectivism is always of the left. It's never, it doesn't come from the right, because the right, it's individuals. To me, it's like pretty obvious, but the Nazis are National Socialists.
Right. And I tried to explain this to some guy the other day, and they'll do one of two things. They'll cite Snopes debunking it, which uses some easily debunked quotes, or this guy actually used Encyclopedia Britannica. And I give him a documentary from Teak with 5 hours of primary sources debunking this.
Sure.
He won't even look at it. He uses this tertiary source, Encyclopedia Britannica, that's like a third, fourth-hand source, as the gospel truth. And, they say, well, Hitler wasn't a real socialist, I know, yeah. And that's that, fascism is capitalism, and they have all of this spin and these lies that they use. But the key thing that they hold on to, and the left in general, is they'll forget socialist and workers' party, and they'll focus on nationalist. So if you're for your own country, they'll use the nationalist aspect to say you're a Nazi, even if you're totally anti-socialist, pro-freedom, for everybody, etc. And so they spin that whole thing and only focus on the national. And the Soviet Union, Hitler, he looked at Mussolini's fascist Italy, which, fascism is defined as international socialism and unionism. Yeah. And he looked at the Soviet Union and the Marxism, and he's like, I don't like that. I don't like that. We're going to create national socialism. And then they scapegoated the Jews for all their problems, just like the left does the Christians and the whites today.
And I wonder, I often wonder this, because if the Nazis came out of the Thule Society, and that came out of Symbottendorf, and he was
a Muslim.
And they have a historic dislike and hatred, biblical, I guess, not even a Quranic hatred for the Jews. Would that not play onto it? Because I'm wondering, because there was Islamic battalions in the German.
Hold on, I was just pulling up some photos of that stuff here. I got some really good stuff here. Here's now I can't even remember the guy's name. Let me just get it up on screen here for the audience to see, though. But here's the Grand Mufti of Palestine. That's who that is. Now check this out. The Waffen-SS had huge. Here's another one. Keeps moving on me. Had huge Islamic factions. Now here's a good one. The 13th Bosnian Muslim 13th Hanjar Division, or at least it says Waffen-SS 13th Division, And you know, I mean, okay, so yeah, there, but the whole thing is spun against the Christians.
Yes. Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, I keep telling people that there's a reason why we're persecuted over and over throughout history. I mean, there's a reason for it, and it happens. You know, you can't not, unfortunately, because
I lived in Yugoslavia, and I was there during the Civil War, living with my ex-wife and her family in Belgrade. And Bosnia, Croatia, they start the Civil War. So
mhm.
Bosnia elects this guy here. This is Alija Izetbegovic, and he was a member of the Bosnian 13th Handjar Division, and they would hold knife throat slicing contests to see how many Serbs they could kill in an hour. And then this guy becomes president of Bosnia. You know, and of course the Serbs were Orthodox Christians, and the Bosnians are primarily Muslims because of all of
Yeah,
the Turkish invasions
yeah.
into there in Albania. But this guy became president, and you know, a war criminal.
Wow. Isn't that the way it goes, right? You know, isn't that how it is? You know, it seems like the sociopaths and the psychopaths just work their way up the ladder. And wow, like we're dealing with one right now. I mean, you guys have a generally senile individual now. I thought Reagan was bad, but no, I mean, I think that
Well,
Biden's
Reagan
got,
was pretty good when he was.
well, no doubt, no. I'm just saying, in his latter years, he was getting a little soft. You know, he's getting a little, well, you know, like the last couple of years of his presidency, he seemed to be slowing down a bit mentally. But Biden has started off his presidency way worse than Reagan ever was. So, I mean, it's brutal. I can't. It's been just over a year. Can you believe just over a year since Trump was in office and things were the gas prices? Oh my God, it's insane.
Yeah, well,
It's a,
we here in Southern California, we were at $1.99 a gallon when Trump was president. Now it's just shy of $5.
that's insane. That's insane. I can't believe it. Like everything is just nuts. And then the world's falling to pieces. You got what's happening in Russia and in the Ukraine, and who knows what's going to happen with China in Taiwan. God knows. And then here we have, I don't know what's going to happen with Canada, but honestly, the resolve of the people, I'll tell you, everyone I talk to is just like, screw them, we don't care. Like, what are you going to do? I think, I don't know if there's people still staged outside of Ottawa. There's still a ton of trucks out there. I think they should just park and sit. Just don't do anything. Just sit at home. You know, let these guys, like it was a good idea, the blockade or the you know the just occupation of Ottawa. But honestly, at this point, it should just be a secessio plebis type of thing where you just go, screw you, going home, you deal with it yourself, put my feet up, not doing anything. I think that's the way to do it. And hopefully people won't get beaten and run over with horses by doing that. You know, people were shot with rubber bullets. People were shot. They had concussive grenades going off. They had, again, snipers on the rooftops. It's just nuts. I believe they were hitting people with I don't know if they had those long range acoustic devices, the LRADs. People were saying they were using them. I didn't see any evidence of that, but I've heard that they were there. So, and I think the police just love to pull out all the stops and see all their toys and see what they could do. And it's very unfortunate. I don't know what to say, but you know, and I understand one of the organizers, the Tamara Leach, I think is her name. I believe her bail was denied. So I don't know what's happening with that. So it's yeah, it's pretty up in the air. We'll see. I don't know, Jan. I don't know. Try to keep.
So what is the next step? What are people thinking to fight back against this Trudeau tyranny?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are talking about the strike, just like truckers just going and parking their rigs and not moving. But I know a lot of people are planning on. People are talking about it's protesting, but you can't, what are you going to do? I mean, they don't care, right? nobody's escalating it beyond they want to keep everything peaceful. And I think that's probably wise at
Well,
this
what
point
the
in time.
truckers should just do, here's my opinion, and I sent you a video of this.
Yes.
The truckers should just take their rigs home, shut them
Yep.
off, lock them in the
Yep.
backyard or in the driveway or
Yep.
in the distributor center or whatever, and just go home and say, you know what, forget it.
Yep.
You got 4 days, 4 days till everything collapses without the truckers, and you want to. We just lost your video feed there. You there, Chris?
Yep.
Okay, you're back.
Sorry. Yep,
but
sorry.
And it's like these truckers were talking about how the grocery stores turn over their entire supply every 2 to 3 days, and they were showing how New York City would have a total of 4 days before the whole thing collapses without the truckers.
I don't know.
You don't need to have blockades. You don't need to do anything. You just need to say, you know what? I got COVID. I'm sleeping in today.
Yeah.
What does it take? 10, 12 days to get over it? I was in bed for 11 days back in January 2020. So,
I don't know.
Everybody could just go to bed. It's just nighty-night. See you in a couple weeks.
I know that there's I don't know what the status is, but they're talking about there being a big convoy going in the US. I think they should do the same thing and just park them don't even waste the gas.
Yeah.
Just save your money. And now who knows, because what's going on? Oh my God, Jan, this is insane. Do you know there was the pink-haired hacker on TikTok who hacked Give Send Go and got all the information for all the donors, right? So there's and apparently he's like a government hacker. He claims that he was involved in the founding of Anonymous or something to that effect. So really kind of funny. But they've released a file where you can go and they have a Google Maps and they have the actual geolocations of all the people who donated to the Give Send Goes with their postal codes and their email addresses and whatever name information they had. So you can actually find a map, and I've seen it go around, and it's very disturbing because you can look in my own region and I can see how many people gave to these things. It's scary. It's scary that that's where we're at. They'll dox these people for giving money, $20. You can donate $20 to the truckers. Hey, these guys, when they started going down, heading towards Ottawa, I don't know if you saw the video footage of all the people lining the highways and overpasses. And this is the winter in Canada, not pleasant weather. Like even for us going out there on over by the bridge, it's horrible. Like it's wide open. There's wind is whipping. It's not well insulated in any way, shape, or form. And it's friggin' freezing in the middle of friggin' February. It's like the worst possible time.
Dead middle of winter, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's go right in the middle of like January. Let's go. Not the best time, but it is what it is. But the fact is that, the fact that, oh, man, I think ultimately it would be, I think from now on, people should just park and totally just withdraw from the system. These people have no credibility left. I don't trust any of these people. We're looking at boycotting police-owned businesses that were involved in these events because they were brutal to the people. Why should they benefit from, if they have businesses, people are looking at getting lists of boycotting the radio stations that have.
Well, they're going to target people that donated. Why not, reverse
exactly.
it all?
Well, that's the thing, right? So all you can do is try to, show, look, you guys turned against the community. So why do we want you around? Why do we want your children playing with our children? Why do we want your, to go and patronize your business when you benefit from beating the shit out of so-and-so over here who's just standing up for everybody's rights and peacefully doing it? And like I'm saying, a lot of these people are not thugs in any way, shape, or form. A lot of them are older people. And I'm talking like I met this woman at the bridge and she's holding a laminated picture of her husband. And she said, like, he died last year. He would be here. He was a truck driver. He was all for this type of thing. He died in the hospital. and I couldn't go and see him because I'm not vaccinated, and they wouldn't let me in to see him. So she couldn't see her husband before he died, but she had to pay $7,000 to see the body before it was cremated, so she could see the body.
Wow.
Like, tell me, and this is, and she still hasn't had a memorial for him because the family can't gather because of COVID restrictions. Like, this is absolutely inhumane, the stuff that's going on. And when you talk to these people, it's like the elitist snobs that I know that are always looking their nose down and stuff. They have all their stuff. They go to they do all the stuff that they've always done. They're elitist snobs. Like the mayor of this town who called all the people, and this guy's a complete piece of dirt. His name is Drew Dilkins, and he's a maggot, if you ask me. That's my personal opinion. I wouldn't even step on that piece of trash. Said the people that were down there, like this woman and a whole host of other people, were mentally unstable. They were mentally ill. Like, that's what he said about the people that were protesting down there. And we have like really bad, we've got just giant a-holes for Congress, for our like our ward, our city council. They're just like the biggest douchebags. So, I mean, they are. No, seriously, I don't even want to say it's the scum of the earth, but that's who've infested. They've come and they've infested where nobody else is paying attention. These people got in. And why? And they have businesses. I won't patronize any of these places. These people disgust me. And they are all benefiting from this. They benefit from this. They've all benefited in watching their fellow man, just disintegrate, and they don't care. Just heartless pieces. But they care about about George Floyd, because you got to change. Hey, got to turn my thing black. I got to change my profile picture black because George Floyd, he was a great saint who was killed by the police. That's horrible. We got to defund those police. But these police that beat up the poor old lady who was standing there with her walker and run her over with horses, that's okay. Well, we worry about the horses on that occasion. Like, it's the
double standards.
It's the insane
and hypocrisy.
And it's so offensive because it's the feigned outrage that they have, this fake rage that they generate over some things is just so over the top. Yet over here, where you would think, oh my God, like, that's horrible. Like, this should never, for anybody, it should never be, I'd never want to see even some like lefty get run over by a horse. I would say, man, you were wrong in running that person over with a horse. You don't do that. But these people are one-sided. And so I see that and I'm like, they disgust me. I look at these people.
I commented the other day that, every mass genocide in history, at least as far back as we can go for the last 200-300 years, was committed by the left.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they'll be out there crying. They changed it. Orange is the new black, Jan. Orange is the new black, right? Because, we had the TV show, and then Trump after Obama, right? And then we have Black Lives Matter. And then a year later, we have the movement with the indigenous, with the residential schools. And in Canada here, everybody changed their profile picture to orange. It was just a flat orange. Orange was the color. And it was almost like a year after the George Floyd incident where everybody changed their profile picture.
How do people not get that these memes are social engineering? That's what blows me away.
Oh, I know. But here's the scoop. I mean, this is going to be part of our comic book thing way down the road, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because it's just too much of a juicy conspiracy. There's like also the black is the old orange, where you have all these black actors now playing redheaded characters that were popular redheaded characters, like Ariel from The Little Mermaid is now a black actress playing Ariel. There's like Archie, there's a black actor playing Archie. Like, a lot of these things are seem to be the case, right? And it's been noted. People have talked about it. I even saw people talking about it on Tim Pool recently. But the kicker is, for me, is that redheads, often are called gingers. And in the as a derogatory term or a put down. But when you flip the letters around, it spells something else that's also a derogatory term for something else. And it's like, wow, isn't that another interesting? Orange is the new black. Isn't that another interesting thing? Where wouldn't say it, but if you flip the letters around from ginger, you get a different word. And it's not a good word. So isn't that a weird coincidence? All of these different things mashing up, where you have all this coincidence with orange and black, and orange redheads or gingers, and yep. So anyway, I just thought that it was an interesting observation I made. So, but outside of that, yes, yeah, you can't say that word, otherwise, it's like Joe Rogan, man. You have to apologize, and it'll be a bad thing. So can't have that. You know how that goes.
But all it did was get him mega popularity. It's like Timothy Leary getting hired by the CIA and then subsequently getting fired from Harvard with him and Dick Alpert or Dick Ramdas. And
Ramdas. And then he gets broken out.
And then they and then a year later is the Summer of Love and this whole kickoff. They couldn't have done anything without all of that. It's like, oh look, they're trying to suppress Leary's spiritual message. Oh look, they're trying to suppress Rogan. Come on. I was friends with Rogan for 8 years, and it's 8 years I'll never get back.
Well, sorry to hear that. And it truly is. And the engineers, they know what they're doing. They're pushing things along. So, but yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre times. So yeah, that's the report from Canada right now. Who knows what's going to happen down the road? But I know that I'm hoping that
people were inspired. What?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that people, the resolve that, because they're still trying to push people out of Ottawa. They haven't left. I mean, so many people are still there. There's so many people hanging around, and they're having parties in different parts of the city, and they're moving out of the red zone. So I'm hoping that they lift this stupid War Powers Act, and then I'm hoping a lot of the provinces are already moving away from, like March 1st, they're getting out of the mandates here in Ontario. So the trucks were already successful. They 4 provinces, I think 4 now, are scrapping the mandates. And so that's a good thing. And the other ones are probably going to follow suit as well. So it was the federal mandates that they were working with Trudeau. I don't know how he's going to be able to hold on to this. It's just the thing that sucks the most is that nobody's really condemning him. He hasn't really gotten anybody. I saw Jack Prozovic post that he said like something like 65% of the Democrats approve of what Justin Trudeau is doing in the States. And I'm like, fuck, they're not even trying to pretend that it's not a good thing. They're just like, yeah, it's okay. We do the same thing here.
Wow.
So that's scary if you ask me. We need a blue wave over there, please, folks. Come October. Is it October, November? Is that when you guys have the midterms? I think it's in the fall, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. And
it's
so
just,
hopefully,
it's just such a what show here. And
well, I mean,
and stuff started coming out recently. There's that new documentary that's coming out exposing all of the ballot fraud and everything. But
2,000 Mules, yeah, that Dinesh D'Souza. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Watch that'll get squashed and banned everywhere before it's even released.
I bet. Well, even the Hillary Clinton stuff.
And, and I was talking to a woman, whom I've known for like 15, 18 years, who works down at the post office. And she was telling me, oh, there was no voter fraud. And I'm just like, there's so much evidence of it. But, the media just pounds the mantra that there was no voter fraud, and people buy it, And
dumb ad nauseum. We'll just keep hitting you in the head with the same
if you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it,
It's true. It's so true. But, there's that. And then there's the Hillary thing with the Tom Fenton and Judicial Watch has been harping on this for like 5 years now.
Oh, I know.
And like they're like, no, look at the Durham report. Look at. And everybody's like, no. Like, why is
and,
nobody?
and Project Veritas as well, you know.
Yeah, I know. They're
Well,
just
and Rogan threw what's his name from Project Veritas under the bus too, and that came out, and he got exposed for that.
yeah. I know he was trying to downplay him a couple times. He's like, "Oh, what's that guy's name again? That what's
Yeah.
that?
Oh, he probably faked this guy posting on
Yeah,
his own Instagram how he
yeah,
was doing ballot fraud and blah blah blah.
yeah,
Yeah, I posted something about that like a month ago. I had
yeah,
posted it years before, or a couple years ago, and it was like, oh, there's that thing again. Let's bump that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yep, it's crazy. It's the social engineers are good at what they do, and they do come along and they try to nudge everything in some direction, in some manner. It's interesting to see how they do it, but yeah,
I want to do a new show, a new episode with Steve soon, maybe Kieran as well, called The Crazy Makers. Just going into how literally they sell crazy as the normal, and that,
yeah,
and we've got all of the documentation and everything for it now. Oh, and before I forget, everybody in the audience, last night I released the update on the brain database for those of you who are quarterly and yearly members to the Logos Media website. You can now download that, so you'll want to check that out. And we've got a whole bunch of new stuff on Westcott and Horde in there, and the whole scandal behind the UN and the Bible revisionism and all of that stuff is laid out in there now, so people can fish through there and connect all the dots to that whole scandal. It's pretty interesting, and you can see that they intentionally created and sold spiritualism, channeling, all of this leftist New Age stuff. That was all manufactured and part of the agenda that was created by the intel community. It's all tied into the Fabian Socialists, into the Ghost Society, into a bunch of people that were Arthur Balfour, a bunch of people that were there behind the creation of the UN, or the League of Nations originally, that became the UN. But it's all laid out in there, and these people were all devout Satanists. I mean, we've got their quotes and their stuff. Madame Blavatsky is tied into a huge number of them.
oh, it's all ties up, right?
They're all theosophists and whatnot.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve, for the donation, by the way, and thanks to few other people this week. Let's see, we had David B, thank you, and there was Darren, and we had quite a few people who kicked in donations. There's always Oscar, who has supported the show for like a decade. Thank you, Oscar. And then I'm not like intentionally missing anybody. Wendell. And we're going to hopefully have Wendell on the show soon. He and I have been talking a lot. He's a smart kid. Should be an interesting discussion there. And, of course, thanks to Boru in the chat. Thanks to Lewis. Thanks to everybody else who's been donating. And, I was supposed to have Ingrid McLean on the show last week, and she flaked out, and then she flaked out again. So I guess we're skipping that, and suddenly she found some new evidence for another book she's writing on, so she doesn't want to talk about this book because she's afraid for her life or something. So, and never mind that, like, a good portion of her quotes in this book came right off my website, and possibly the database too, but it's stuff that I had mapped out for a while. You're frozen again. There you are.
Yeah.
So here, who else was in here? Jeff also made a donation. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff N. Yeah. And I'm just looking for all of you who sent donations over the last couple weeks. So thank you so much. Hugely appreciate that. And I don't know if I think I said Boru already, and in the chat there. I don't even know if Google has actually sent me any of you people's donations from the chat. So I would recommend making the donations from the website or from PayPal. And the links are there in the show description as well. I have not seen any of your donations, would probably amount to $400 or $500 worth, come through from Google YouTube for 2 months. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, they probably are like GoFundMe, and they thought, you know what? We don't think we want to donate the money there, so we'll just send it over to a charity of our choice. I love the way the left thinks. They're so benevolent, aren't they? So funny.
Oh yeah. So there's something I wanted to do here. A flashback to the past. Let me see if I can. I got to see if I can get this to come up here. Here, I'll cover me up here. Let's see if I can make this share screen work. Here we go. Share sound. There we go. Share.
Oh, no more mammy and no more pappy. Ain't we lucky, oh, ain't we happy? Everybody's oh so happy.
It took us off the screen, but
that's
no
okay,
more
man.
marriages, no one pushing baby carriages, no one has to change a nappy. Ain't we lucky, oh, ain't we happy? Everybody's happy now. A dope for tea,
sing it, Chris.
For dinner, fun all night in love and laughter. No remorse or morning after. Where's the sin and who's the sinner? Everybody's happy now. Girls pneumatic, girls exotic, girls ecstatic, girls erotic. Hug me, baby, and make it snappy. Everybody's oh so happy. Everybody's happy now. Lots to eat and hours for drinking. So more cocktails and no more thinking. No more thinking. No more thinking. Oh, everybody's happy now.
Here, I give you a little harmony at the end.
So for those of you who don't know, that song that was the intro for years and on the RBN show, that's you, Chris.
That was a fun hour and a half that came together because I was sitting at work. I was working at the music store. I'm on my computer, and you posted the lyrics and said, "Hey, can somebody just put music to this?" And I was like, "Yes, I think I can." And I just started recording it. And I grabbed every little goofy little instrument that I could find, like a ukulele and a mandolin and a banjo and whatever. It was just trying to make it sound as epsilon as possible. It was fun.
Well, and we ended up with like 6 different submissions for that, and they were all good, but yours was by far the most popular,
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, folks. It was a lot of fun. It got a lot of traction too, man. It lasted for a long time. I thought, hey, this is awesome. Every time I hear it.
Well, the problem with playing it now is just, doing live, and I'm sure there's a way I could do it. I just
Oh no, I get it. It's hard, I understand. The live streaming thing and trying to do these things, there's a great appeal to it, but the post-production, like the guys who do this regularly, they have a crew of guys who are doing all the post
Do you know that
stuff.
I spent a week to a month editing every single show before it went out?
Oh yeah, I could imagine. Definitely. No question about it. I know there's a great deal of work that goes into
it. It was, and when I went to live stream and didn't have to sit there spending my whole week editing or 2 or 3, editing shows, and you're not doing anything else. I've been attacked or I donated X amount of money for him, and he never, some of the hit pieces against me. It's like, yeah, I spent 3 months editing your shows, not doing anything.
Exactly.
That barely kept the lights on. I'm sure if you paid a production studio, that would have been more like $100,000, but you sent a couple $1,000. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's
you
true.
know who
It
I'm
is
talking about.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? It's hard. It requires a great deal of attention, especially if you have standards. When you have a high standard, you don't want to put out substandard products. But that's the great thing about going live, that you can just have the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few things that you may sacrifice in the production of it, but like really, it's remarkable. Like I talked to this kid yesterday, this young guy yesterday, Tristan, the flag guy, if you're on my Facebook, if you see the cover photo, there's a photo of the back of a young guy.
I'm pulling it up right now. Here, a second.
This dude was out there every friggin' day. I mean, he was out there tonight, walking around with the flag and the hat. And like, he's a warrior when it comes to this stuff. And so I was able to say, hey, I've hit him up on Facebook, friended him up. I was like, hey, can I do an interview with you? And just added him on Facebook thing. We just sat there and chatted it was so cool that you could just do that,
Yeah.
I want to talk.
Who was it? Oh, geez. The guy with two first names. He was the first video show I did in like 2014. And then it was like, 2018, we went to live stream. But, now I can't even think of it. I did like 3 or 4 shows with him about eugenics and chemicals in the water and stuff like that.
Was it
Duncan? I think.
Yeah. That's the doctor, but he's not a doctor, right?
Right, the doctor who's not a doctor, right?
Yeah. Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. He's an interesting cat, though.
Yeah, he had a lot of really, but that was the very first video show that I had ever done, and
right.
Curtis Duncan, there we go.
Curtis Duncan, yeah.
We did 4 shows with him. Episode number 149 of the Gnostic Media Shows in August of 2012
wow.
was actually the first. Or no, wait, was that one? Hold on, was that one audio only? Now question. Oh no, it was video actually.
So, it was,
Yeah, and it was done on Skype back when people still used that.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was the conspiracy to feminize males and masculinize females, and then we did a follow-up.
How did that work?
Yeah, boy, yeah, we called that one early. And then, I should get him back on the show. And then in December 2014, on New Year's Eve, we did homosexuality and the chemical manipulation of humanity. Mm-hmm. And then on RBN, we did masculinizing and feminizing. And then in 2017, in June, he came back and we did transgenderism and endocrine disruptors. Yes. So, I mean, we laid all of that out in those shows.
No kidding.
I mean, he was spot on all of that stuff. And now it's just
no kidding.
Blatantly obvious,
I don't know. Isn't it crazy to be able to go back and look back and say, well, look at that. Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting? That's something else.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I remember him quite. Yeah, he left an impression. Yeah, I recall. I don't know if I listened to all of them or saw all of them, but I do recall. I probably did. I do recall. Very pertinent information.
Here, I'll show them on screen here, so if people want to look these up. Curtis Duncan here, 4 shows there. So those of you who want to find those, you can look them up on the website. I definitely recommend it because it sure explains a lot of what we see going on now. And you know what? I even had a couple of doctors on, and we went into all of that too. And one of those got shadow banned. Anyway.
Well, it's kind of funny too, Jan, because it seems like, I don't know if this has any play on it, but I mentioned this before when I was on the podcast last about our freedom movement here in Canada, the protesters and the people, and this goes right into all the people at the Blockade and the people that are involved in the Freedom Convoy. Half of the people, I'd say, are female. And they're the driving force behind this. Like there are so many people that are females that are really right in there, and they're pushing hard. And you got to wonder, where are the men? There's not a lot of men. I mean, there are men, but there's not. You'd think that there would be double the men that in a movement like this, but
well,
no,
they've really pushed out all of the alpha males, you know.
the alpha, all the alpha males. I think all the guys, they're there, and all the other people are not out there.
Well, they're out there supporting the fake news and
they are. They're the ones who are more worried about safety and about security than seeing the danger and meeting it. The females are stepping up, and you got to wonder, man, these women seem pretty masculinized. Like as far as they're like, hey.
Rick and Carl want me to mention Alice Bailey and Lucifer Trust when we were discussing the UN and League of Nations and all. But there's a lot more behind that. So guys, go into the database. You can get to the database, for those of you who don't know, on the Logos Media website. You can view the web version. It's not as cool and doesn't show as much as the oops, wrong tab. It doesn't show as much on here as the download version. And, you know, the download version is, if you're a member, you can download right here on this link. But there's a whole bunch of stuff. Steve he's been really digging into this stuff. Like Westcott and Hort are really key. So this guy, Brooke Foss Westcott, and Hort, Fenton John Anthony Hort, these guys, the Theosophists, all of this stuff plays out into the creation of the UN. They were all these spiritists and whatnot, and full-blown Satanists. They were friends with Helena Blavatsky. All of the Bible revisionism comes out of this group of people here. And so they these two guys, Westcott and Hort, they did the New Greek Bible translation that was basically accepted as factual for years, and now people are waking up more and more that was a fraud. But you know, there's a whole lot more that needs to be exposed there. That's a few shows worth right there that we'll be getting into pretty soon.
Karen just liked one of my photos, so I just friended her up on Facebook. I'm just going to out that right here on your show.
Just make sure you call her Kieran, not Karen.
Okay, I apologize. But I have not dove into those shows yet. Like I said, it's so deep, and I want to get into them, and I've been so busy with some other stuff, like the shows that you've done with Hans and. Those I can digest so fast, but the stuff that with Steve, that's some deep diving, man. I gotta get my shovel and my headlamp out and start going for that stuff like that. You guys go deep on that.
Yeah, well, it's gonna go way deeper here soon. So
yeah, I have to catch up. I'll have to sit down and spend some hours and just because like that stuff is not stuff I can just sit there and wash over me. I have to sit there and pay very close attention. There's a lot of stuff.
What's interesting is this group that was behind the Bible revisionism and the UN and all of this stuff. There are, you know, so I've been laying out all of these MK Ultra people for the last 12 years or more, and there's heavy overlap between the groups. The Fabians are behind the Bible revisionism, and they're behind the MK Ultra scene too. You know, Aldous Huxley, the key architect behind MK Ultra, was a Fabian. George Orwell, Eric Blair was a Fabian. All of these guys are Fabians. You know, and so they're the group of what I'm going to start calling the crazy makers. You know, they normalize insanity, schizophrenia, and we've done several shows recently on the normalizing of schizophrenia, which I recommend people check out. But you know, now we've got the names and how they did it and whatnot. But these are the crazy makers, and they are literally turning society crazy so that they can rule everybody. It's a you know, barless prison. You know, it's Aldous Huxley's final revolution. And they want people so dumbed down that they think there's no reality, no truth. Everything is what you want to make it. You know, normalize schizophrenia, put down where our freedoms came from, which is the Bible, and then normalize spiritualism and channeling and all of this stuff. So everything is inversion and spin.
Yeah. And you think, George Bernard Shaw, another prominent Fabian, was saying he envisioned a time when there would be like a panel that you would have to justify your existence. Would you mind justifying your existence for, every 7 years you'd have to go and let them know why you should still continue to breathe air and consume food. I mean, it's so inhumane. And also, I believe he was also very complimentary to Adolf Hitler in the early days of Hitler's reign, until they found out he was going after the Jewish people as opposed to the non-productive people, which is what they had contempt for. And it's so funny because now we have Trudeau and his people who have absolute contempt, but not for non-productive people, but for actually the productive people that are actually keeping the world going. They have absolute contempt for these people. It's just unreal where we're at right now. It blows my mind. But yes, it's crazy how these people, they are absolutely evil. There's no way anybody could look at this and say these people are saying that these people are benevolent in any way, shape, or form except for their own.
Here's a quote from Bernard. He said, George Bernard Shaw, "We should find ourselves committed to killing a great many people whom we now leave living, and to leave living a great many of people whom we at present kill. We should have to get rid of all ideas about capital punishment." And then, anyway, sorry, my reading is jacked up tonight. But that was one of them. I'm sure I have another one of his quotes in here someplace. But, yeah, here's I'll just show the database here. It's easier.
Just pontificating about, people's lives and who's worthy of living.
He's, they were behind the creation of Planned Parenthood along with Bill Gates' father and Margaret Sanger, et cetera. These are the eugenicists, and
H.G. Wells
and Aldous Huxley, who's right here. But if we go into the Fabian Society here, this is, they're really interesting, and they basically, I think, were behind MK Ultra, and it's obvious that they were behind the Bible revisionism and all of this stuff. But state superior to the individual, communism, they're all big-time eugenicists, et cetera. And it's based off of Fabius Maximus, the Roman ruler.
Yes.
But
was Hannibal he fought off? Or what?
Yes, and I have that tied here as well in the database. Yeah. But so they were behind the Codex Sinaiticus, and they were behind the creation of the Frankfurt School, which, of course, ties directly into the Macy conferences and MK Ultra. And then, and so what they did, and we were talking about the Islamic influence with the Nazis, they want to totally whitewash all of that so that they can blame the Christians. And then, so all of this stuff was about rewriting that history so that they could blame the Christians. Malachi Martin was behind that. He was a big double or triple agent working underneath Cardinal Bay. And so they were the ones, and he also founded Veterans Today, which is a front organization. But they were the ones who were behind all of the stuff, from the faking of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Seelisberg Conference to you name it, and we can see numerous prominent intelligence officials in there. But these guys, they just keep up pushing the agenda. So now we're seeing it roll out against the public, and so I don't know. People need to really wake up to all of this stuff, and the New Age spiritism and channeling and all of that stuff. These guys literally created that. They literally created that as part of their mind control. So let me go back to Westcott here. Where did he go to? Oh, goodness. I had him here a minute ago. I'll just type him in.
I mean, it's remarkable to me how the tactics that are used are so. I mean, you've uncovered so many of these tactics that have been used to further, give legitimacy, like the idea of the entire peer review process, or the spies in academic clothing using each other as, to promote each other's work, and just one big circle jerk, just promoting this idiocy.
Absolutely. So these guys, Westcott and Hort, they created the Ghostly Guild at Trinity College in Cambridge, and then out of that came the Channeling and New Age movement, and they also created the Society for Psychical Research, and then that flows down into William James, who was influenced by Emanuel Swedenborg, etc., and he's over at Harvard University, and then he creates the department that later was headed by Dr. Henry A. Murray, that was Timothy Leary and all of those guys' department when they were involved in MKUltra, B.F. Skinner, etc. So, we can begin to see the whole upstream of this whole system. So, people think, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious or whatever. That was created by these guys. That was the intention. And they created, parapsychology and all this stuff. And look who's right here, Arthur Balfour. And then Balfour promoted all of this stuff to the public, and brought about the League of Nations, which is the satanic front of this whole group, this whole Fabian socialist group. And of course, the logo for the Fabians up until a few years ago was a wolf in sheep's clothing. So we can go through now, and we've got all of this history mapped out, and Steve has a lot more that we'll hopefully be going into soon, but I just wanted to give a rundown on that so that people could begin to see, the history and background of it all. Got anything else you want to add, Chris?
No, you know what? I'm glad you brought it up, though, because we're seeing the end game right now, right? You're seeing a very well established and very well highly thought of country being taken over into a collectivist. It has been for a while, but now it's so overt, and now it's tyrannical almost. Where they're crushing people under the might of the state. So now we see the end game of how that plays out. It's not that far away from next door. And next door, I'll tell you, I could be across the border in like 10 minutes from here. So I'm not far from the border. So I'm just saying that it'll bleed over really quickly. So you guys have to be very diligent about this. You guys, please stop these Democrats. 65% of the Democratic Party think that Trudeau is in the right for this one. So that should be a scary.
They voted for Hitler too, even though they pretend he's a right winger. So
I know, it's crazy, but no, that's about it. That's the progress report from up here and up in the north, and we're still plugging away, and people are still defiant, and nobody's really terribly scared about all of this stuff. We see people being abused, and we hope there's going to be some retribution and some accountability. Let's put it that way. We hope people will be held accountable, but the resolve is still really strong. And people, in fact, what happens now, people just get funnier. Now, Facebook is now taken the honk and said that that's going against their terms of condition, because everything that you take away from us, we just turn it into a joke and laugh at it. And that's the best tool we have against this thing, is just mockery and laughter. It has turned out to be such a great tool to shut these people down, and they just get infuriated by it. And hopefully at some point in time, the rest of the world will actually pay attention to this and go, okay, this can't stand anymore. Because you guys are not that far away. I swear, I know Biden is just walking you guys hand in hand right down into this toilet. It's only been a year. It's only been just over a year since he got in. Look how far it's down. So we've had Trudeau since like 2015, I think, 2014, 2015. So took him a little while to get here, but he's at the all-time worst. And I'm hoping that, we could, there'd be something, a vote of no confidence, but I highly doubt it. We're just going to have to deal with it.
Well, his whole outbreak in what do you call your Congress or whatever the other day, and he refused to apologize, and he had numerous what do you call them up there, senators or whatever, calling him out, saying you need to apologize for that. He basically went out there and said, everybody who doesn't agree with me is a Nazi, and it just caused a huge uproar.
Well, this is the funny thing, right? Because there was one Nazi flag that was flown at one of these things, as well as a Confederate flag, which makes no sense because the Nazis ceased to be in 1945 and the Confederates don't really have much to do with Canada. But regardless, the guy with the Nazi flag, they found there was only a handful of shots of him. Of course, the CBC and everybody is right there to take pictures of this guy. And same with the other guy with the Confederate flag, who there's live stream video of the people at the convoy chasing him away. These guys, the one guy was masked. Nobody else was wearing a mask. So clearly it's a setup.
False flag. Literally a false flag.
Literally. And now it's like, that's true. And then the Nazi guy, there's a like a web news, like an independent news organization called True North, and they were offering thousands of dollars for information about who was carrying the Nazi flag. And it looks like it was a cop. And it looks like they outed the person who it was. And there's like photos of the individual where they were staying, and then had photos of the person that was actually like, they've correlated these things. Internet sleuths are wonderful. Anyway, I'm not entirely sure, but it looks pretty credible. I haven't gone through everything to verify it, but it looks pretty credible that it was a cop or somebody undercover who was doing the Nazi flag thing. And very isolated, only a couple photos at one little time, very early on. That's how they have to discredit the whole movement. Then Trudeau comes out and says they're flying a Nazi flag. And then there are people on the conservative side saying, hey, my parents were, persecuted by the Nazis and they were in concentration camps. Don't call these people Nazis. And he kept on, he doubles down. And this is the guy who's been caught in blackface more than once, who's been accused of groping reporters because, he's okay to do that. He's not a misogynist, but these truckers who are not groping anybody are misogynists. None of them are walking around with blackface brown face, because I love that. That's awesome. The pink.
That is an actual photo of Justin Trudeau, folks.
Fuchsia is so becoming. So, this is an individual who has culturally appropriated so many different cultures, yet they have rules for that type of thing in universities here in Canada, that you can't have Cinco de Mayo, you can't go and dressed up as certain cultures for Halloween, but Justin Trudeau can. So it is absolute hypocrisy, and everybody knows it. And it's a joke, and the fact that we're even here right now, it shocks me that we're even at this stage, but it is where we are. So anyway.
What percent, and we're just going to wrap it up here, but what percentage would you say chance that Trudeau is Castro's son?
Oh no, I think it's high. I think
90+%.
Yeah, I would say high. I would say 80%. I would say above 80%. There are photos of Pierre Younger where he looks like he could be, but I truly think that. The wife was not. She was my mother and father when I was a child. When Pierre was first in office, they didn't like him. They thought he was petulant. They thought he was a little brat, and that is just like what Justin is like. And I recall my mother, God rest her soul, would say that Margaret Trudeau was a national embarrassment. She said that on numerous occasions that she was a national embarrassment and that she conducted herself not in a very classy or dignified manner. And it's rumored that she was having affairs with the Rolling Stones, and it's rumored that she had affairs with other people, had very loose morals, and I wouldn't be surprised if she had an affair with Fidel Castro or a variety, because he was a womanizer as well. So I can't,
Well, and there's photos of them standing next to each other, and
honestly, do you think Pierre Trudeau was a strong male, a masculine?
Obviously not.
No, I mean, I honestly look at the guy and I think he looks cuck-ish to me. And
let me,
he stinks like that. Like I just get a feeling. I don't know if you ever get that, but sometimes I just get a vibe, and I'm like, some people are masculine and some people are not. I'm not diminishing him, but he doesn't strike me as a man or a masculine man. He strikes me as a little mean little, can't be a man, so he's going to be mean in his little way.
Yeah.
You know, I think a small infant is what I view him. Like I said about Trudeau, he's a petulant little bitch child. Like he's not even. There's nothing remotely masculine about the people. He's just you want to urinate on him, so he'll have the scent of a male on him. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my
you know what I
goodness.
mean? Like there's
Oh,
like
wow.
something primal that's going on that you're just like, there's something wrong about this guy.
So
in the animal kingdom, he would have been ostracized and he would have been driven out of the pack.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's how these beta males, you know, that's why beta males promote socialism, et cetera, and communism, because they can't compete with the alphas. You know, they're living in mom's basement and whatnot. Isle of Aaron says ZOT just did a stream about the Nazi flag guy, and apparently he was using the flag to warn people about where Canada may end up if people don't stop.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You don't know
Why
about
did
that?
he stand and say something? He walked around a few places and he bolts. It's like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, and you should have a sign up at the same time saying, "Don't let Canada become the Nazis," you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you pull out that stupid image, and it's like, it's one of those things, it's an automatic, bam, we've got you. And it's so funny, like I was saying to, and again, I'll have to repeat this a billion times before, but every time I hear racist, homophobe, thisophobe, white supremacist, they have no meaning anymore. They've completely been deflated by these idiots. All they do is hurl these accusations at you, and it has no value anymore. I just laugh at them now, and when I hear them, like, oh,
what's that theory called? You know, that within a certain number of posts online, somebody will always bring up the Nazis. What's that called?
Oh,
again?
these are
I'm
Godwin?
looking.
Godwin's?
Yeah, Godwin's law, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. The internet law of yes.
Yeah, you got a good memory, dude. William Godwin. Let's see if that's it. No, that's
part
not
of the
it.
trivia. That's really helped me organize my thoughts. I'll tell you. Oh yeah, man. Trivium helped me out a lot during these interviews, man. I was trying to stay on point with what I was saying and just not get dragged off. You know, it was a good.
All you have to do is type in GODW and it fills in Godwin's law for you.
It's so popular. It's such a popular law. Yeah, so this is the way it is, man. This is crazy times here in Canada, but you know, hopefully people will wake up enough to see that, you know, we can't have this stuff anymore, and realize that the people that are out, the media is so brazen. They don't even care that everybody's live streaming all this stuff. Viva Fry, I don't know if you know who that Viva Fry cat is. He's a lawyer on YouTube.
No.
And he's from Quebec. He's very popular. He's a good watch. I mean, he's very entertaining. And he was walking around Ottawa for like hours and hours. He's interviewing everybody. And like he was getting like 30, 40, 50,000 people watching his live streams. And you get the impression that, oh, every single person here is just a regular. There's no movement of, you know, white supremes or racists or anything. Like it is just diffused immediately. Yet the media just keeps harping on that same thing and just keeps pushing these racists. It's like this guy.
They've got nothing else, you know. And
no, it's like the same. It's like everything's deflated, but they have no credibility left. But they still do it. I mean, at some point, people got to wake up. They just have to use their own eyes. Anyway, I want to hold you up all night, sir.
No, that's all right. You know, we've talked about wrapping it up for like 30 minutes now.
Yeah, I know. It's all good, man.
Yeah, it's fun. So thanks for coming back on. This is what, your 5th time or so on the show?
Yeah.
Then there's like another like 200 with your music. So.
Well, hey, that's true too. I mean, God. But no, I'm getting better at this, so I've been doing it, so it's okay. But I'm all right too. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and kind of give a lowdown on what's happening here. And if folks, if you want to check out my live streams that I did at the thing, if you want to get an idea what it was like down there, what the cops were like, and you can go check it out. It's interesting. You can fly through it. You don't have to watch all of it, but you can get to the gist of the.
Well, send me a link to post in the show description, and I'll update it so people can find that. And
thank you.
Yep. I think
Yeah,
that's a
man.
good place to wrap it up. And please hit the like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you appreciate the work we do here, please donate to us, logosmedia.com. I would appreciate if you donate through there because, like I said, I don't know if Google is actually sending anything. So, they're supposed to send it when it reaches $100, so they're quite a bit behind. So, anyway.
Well, thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Chris.
Look forward to next show next week.
And thanks again for all your help with the images, as always.
My pleasure.
All right.
My pleasure.
Take care. Good
Have a
night,
great-
everybody. See you next week. Not sure what we'll do next week. I'll try to figure it out soon, but see you then. Bye.